Welcome to Season 3, Episode 3 of the Home Healthcare Today show. I'm your host, Dr. Clemon Mora. It's Black History Month, and we have an incomparable opportunity to sit in the home of an American legend, living legend, and hero, Chief Master Sergeant William Bill Welborne of the Tuskegee Airmen. Many of our listeners and viewers may not at all be aware or familiar with the story of the Tuskegee Airmen. The Tuskegee Airmen were a group of primarily African American military pilots, fighters and bombers, and airmen and women who fought in World War II. They formed the 332nd Fighter Group and the 477th Bombardment Group of the United States Army Air Forces. The name also applies to the navigators, the bombardiers, the mechanics, instructors, crew chiefs, nurses, cooks, and other support personnel. The Tuskegee Airmen received praise for their excellent combat record earned while protecting American bombers from enemy fighters. This group was awarded 3 Distinguished Unit citations. All black military pilots were trained in the United States, trained at Grill Field, Kennedy Field, Moulton Field, Shorter Field, and the Tuskegee Army Airfields. They were educated at the Tuskegee Institute, now Tuskegee University, located near Tuskegee, Alabama. Of the 922 pilots, 5 were Haitians from the Haitian Air Force, and 1 pilot was from Trinidad.
And one was Chinese.
Yes, sir. And one was Chinese. Yes, sir. It also included a Hispanic airman born in the Dominican Republic. The 99th Pursuit Squadron, later the 99th Fighter Squadron, was the first black flying squadron and the first to deploy overseas to North Africa in April of 1943, and later to Sicily and other parts of Italy. The 332nd Fighter Group, which originally included the 100th, 301st, and 302nd Fighter Squadrons, was the first black flying group. It deployed to Italy in early 1944. Although the 477th Bombardment Group trained with North American B-25 Mitchell bombers, they never served in combat. In June of 1944, the 332nd Fighter Group began flying heavy bomber escort missions, and in July 1944, with the addition of the 99th Fighter Squadron, it had 4 fighter squadrons. The 99th Fighter Squadron was initially equipped with a Curtiss P-40 Warhawk fighter bomber aircraft. The 332nd Fighter Group and its 100th, 301st, and 302nd Fighter Squadrons were equipped for initial combat missions with Bell P-39 Air Cobras, March of 1944, later with Republic P-47 Thunderbolts, June, July 1944, and finally with the aircraft which became most commonly associated with North American P-51 Mustang. July 1944, when the pilots of the 332nd Fighter Group painted the tails of their P-47s red. The nickname Red Tails was coined. The red markings that distinguished the Tuskegee Airmen included red bands on the noses of the P-51s, as well as a red empennage. The P-51B, C, and D Mustangs flew with similar color schemes, with red propeller spinners, yellow wing bands, and all red tail surfaces. The Tuskegee Airmen were the first African American military aviators of the United States Armed Forces. During World War II, black Americans in many U.S. states were still subject to Jim Crow laws, and the American military was racially segregated. And as much of the federal government, the Tuskegee Airmen were subjected to discrimination, both within and outside of the U.S. military. Chief Master Sergeant, welcome to the Home Healthcare Today show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Chief, as a home healthcare show, right, we talk a lot about health, we talk about wellness, but for this Black History episode, we want to dive a little bit deeper, right? Because in view of health, I got to think about, of course, mental health. And we thank you, of course, for your service and the selflessness. But to be born in 1933, all right, growing up in Detroit, what at that time, Chief, made you even think about joining the service, let alone the Air Force, in the mid-40s, and you were a teenager, and it was a war going on. So take us back in time a little bit, Chief, to what was going on in your mind.
Well, actually, I grew up in Montgomery with my grandfather for a while.
Yes, sir.
And my father died, like I said, 2 days before I turned 3. So I went to stay with my grandfather. My mother, she was working.
Yes, sir.
They would take care of us. But in Montgomery, it was rough down there too, at the time.
Yes, sir.
And you could see military troops going down the highway, down the streets. Because they had Maxwell Field there and Gunner Field were both, and then they had an army base close by.
Yes,
So you saw the troops all the time. But you also saw the ugly side.
Mm.
When you go downtown or when you get on the bus.
Yes, sir.
You try to get a cab if you had money to get a cab. You know, it was just hard. You walked everywhere you go, just about.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 'cause my grandfather, he walked to work every day, and he worked 6 days a week, and he made $12 a week.
Mm-hmm.
That's exact. And you know, people make that more than that in 1 hour now.
Yes, sir.
But he was well off because we had a car, we had inside telephone, lights, inside bathroom,
Yes, sir.
and all stuff like that
Yes, sir.
that we had. So I thought we were rich.
Absolutely.
We were real rich.
Yes, sir.
But it was always something, though. Little kids, they grew up together,
Yes, sir.
and then when they grow up, you got to say yes sir or no sir to the kids you grew up with.
Mm.
That don't make sense.
No, sir.
You've been friends all your life, and then you got to say yes sir or no. That's not going to do.
No, sir. And we share that, Chief Master Sergeant. I was actually born in Montgomery.
Mhm.
Born in Montgomery. It was a different era, different time, like late 70s. But I can remember so many stories that my grandparents and parents told me about the South, and even some of the challenges that they had, coming north, right? But so back to your story. So when you decided to say at age 15, I'm gonna go to the military. I'm gonna sneak out of here and go to South Bend, right? What was that experience like?
And my uncle, he was in World War II,
Yes, sir.
and he had got hurt, and he was the only one in the family that really went into the service.
Yes, sir.
And he used to tell me about the service,
Mm-hmm.
and by being near Fort Wayne, you could see the people out there. You go out there over Jefferson, and there was the military out there at the air base out there.
Yes, sir.
Everybody was was go through there when they join going to basic training.
Yes, sir.
So you could see them, and you got a chance to meet other people.
Yes, sir.
And if you went out to Selfless Field, that was like a treat.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Because
sir.
you actually saw the people out there working out there on the base.
Absolutely.
And I was going in the wrong direction.
Okay. Okay.
So that steered me more toward it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I the military made a man out of me, I'd put it that way.
Yes, sir.
And if I hadn't went to service, I don't know where I would be.
Wow.
Probably be locked up somewhere, or 6 feet under.
Oh man. Yes.
You never know.
Yes, sir. Chief Master Sergeant, we thank you for making the decision to go in to serve. You know, as a young man during an extremely challenging time, country at war, World War II, and thinking about the war in Germany, and thinking about the challenges of what's happening in Japan, and what was that like? What was it like for you, to serve and then to pick up your occupation as a aircraft mechanic?
Well, when I went to service, I wasn't in World War II. I came in back in 1948.
Mm-hmm.
I snuck in.
Yes, sir.
I tried the Army,
Uh-huh.
but it didn't work.
Okay.
They sent me back home.
Yes, sir.
So I said, well, I'll wait a couple months and I'll go down to the Air Force. I
Yes,
went to the
sir.
Air Force, and they needed people bad, so
Uh-huh.
the guys would just change my records and make me look like I was 17.
Yes, sir.
So even though I was still 16, I went in and I went to basic training up in Geneva, New York.
Yes, sir.
And after I left there, I went to Chanute Air Force Base, about 125 miles south of Chicago, in Rantoul, Illinois.
Yes, sir.
And after I finished school,
Mm-hmm.
I went to crew chief school.
Okay.
That's a mechanic,
Yes, sir.
aircraft mechanic.
Mhm.
And after I finished there, I was supposed to be assigned to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
In Dayton, Ohio.
But
Yes,
at
sir.
the time,
Uh-huh.
President Truman, he was desegregating the Air Force,
Mm.
so everything was deactivated all the squadrons.
Yes, sir.
And instead of me staying, I stayed at Wright-Pat 2 days and sent me to Houston Air Force Base in Biloxi, Mississippi. One of the worst places in the world to go to.
Yes, sir.
You talking about hell? That was hell.
Hell, Biloxi, Mississippi. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Biloxi it was tough down there. I worked for this guy.
Uh-huh.
He was born and raised in Gulfport, Mississippi, which is about 15 miles away.
Yes, sir.
And he didn't like me, and I didn't like him either, because he gave me a hard time. He treated me like a dog.
Mm.
That's just about what he did. Every time I look around, it was always something.
Yes, sir.
And I was on it at the time. I was on the black and of the crew chiefs, and it had a young lady that she was a clerk there, and she was from Brooklyn.
Yes, sir.
She didn't care about she didn't care. Everybody was the same to her,
Yes, sir.
and we were good friends. And he hated that.
Yeah.
But she would grab me and hug me and stuff
Uh-oh.
like that.
Uh-huh.
And that was a no.
Mm.
You just don't do that.
Yes, sir.
So on the weekend, I'd have CQ, that's charge of quarters, where you sit in the order room,
Yes, sir.
and everybody had to check in with you when they do something.
Right.
If somebody come new, they check in with the CQ, and and it was either that or be on guard duty or something. There's always something I do on the weekend, my time off,
Yes, sir.
and I couldn't really do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And Biloxi was, as far as I'm concerned, they can burn it up. I hated Biloxi.
Yes, sir.
We had one block in town,
Mm.
and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't want you to walk through the white neighborhood going back to the base, because if you did, the police challenged you. And at the time, being 17, 18 years old,
Yes.
you have a little drink, and one drink would put me on cloud 27.
Come on now. Yes, sir.
And I'm going through the white neighborhood, going back to the base, the quick way.
Yes, sir.
And cops come over and stop you. Where you going, boy? That's the first thing they say. Hey, boy.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, you one of those smart niggas from up north. I say, yeah, I just want to get back to the base.
Yes, sir.
But they say a few words, you say a few words, and you look around, and they put your hands on you, or you got to fight.
Right.
And if they get the whistle, they blow the whistle, because Biloxi is not a real big town.
Yes, sir.
They get help, and they take you down to jail, and you spend the whole, if it's on a Friday night, you spend the whole weekend in jail.
Yes, sir.
Monday morning, the base will come and get you out of jail. But they give you they serve you this food, a plate of grits with molasses on top. That's what they serve you to eat.
Yes, sir.
And first night, I'm not eating this stuff here.
Right.
Next morning, you can't wait to get to it.
Yes, sir.
Because you be hungry.
Yes, sir. And that's an experience that you had here, right? You know, here in the States, in Biloxi, Mississippi, as a 18, 19-year-old. And then, so going back to that, you know, being born in 33 and the war between 41 to 44 and 41 to 45, because as you teach the kids when you go into the schools, you know, there were 2 wars in one and different ending times. And on the tail end of that, so as we think about that experience in Mississippi, on the tail end of that, you saying, I want to serve my country, I want to pick up where other Air Force men and women left off. And that's a tragic experience domestically. Talk to us about your international experiences and how were you treated abroad?
I was treated pretty good, real
Yes,
good. My first overseas experience was in Japan,
Yes, sir.
the Philippines rather. I went to the Philippines first, and I went to Japan later on.
Yes, sir.
In the Philippines, it was nice, you know, but you had to watch yourself.
Yes, sir.
Because they were there, they were out to get the almighty dollar.
Yeah,
That's all they wanted.
Yes, sir.
And, you know, be around GIs, they got these bars where they had the girls in there.
Uh-huh.
If you go to Manila,
Mm-hmm.
it was rough down there too sometimes. But I was kind of lucky. I ran track,
Okay.
so when I got down, we go down to Manila's,
Yeah.
the University of Philippines, I was pretty well accepted.
Yes, sir.
But you did have certain times people would look at you and they would just veer away from you.
Mm.
So you had to attend with that.
Yes,
And
sir.
if you didn't, a lot of times you'd be out in the villages and you didn't speak the language Tagalog,
Uh-huh.
well then you were kind of isolated. You
Yes, sir.
felt ostracized.
Yes, sir.
And so, but in Japan, I was always treated pretty good. They were nice to me in Japan.
Okay.
We had a great time. I got to know a lot of people there,
Yes, sir.
and when I went to Japan, I learned how to speak. I went to University of Fukuoka and learned how to speak your language,
Okay.
and that made it real nice for me because I could go to these small villages
Mm-hmm.
and talk to people where people were great to you. Then with the movie Sayonara, when I was over there, they making the movie Sayonara,
Uh-huh.
and I went to Kyoto to watch them make the movie.
Yes, sir.
And I met a couple of stars up there. Red
Yeah.
Buttons, I met him, Miko Taka. And Marlon Brando was in it, but I didn't get a chance to see him.
Okay.
But
So-
it was always treated good.
Yes,
But
sir.
you always find the people that's on the left.
Yes, sir.
It's got a little bit of prejudice against you.
Okay.
I don't care where you go. In Germany, England,
Mm.
they separate everybody that's a darker color, not English. They would call them white,
Mm.
and they would call other people black and so forth.
Yes, sir.
It was at times it had a few hard times over there,
Yes, sir.
and at times it was real nice.
Okay.
Again, by running track and bowling, it helped me out a lot.
Okay. And
But I
so,
was a pretty good bowler, and they would just learn how to bowl, so I could go to these different villages
yes, sir.
And I became like a hero a couple times.
Bowled a few strikes, huh?
Yeah, I got to do some good things.
Yes, sir.
And the only place I didn't like when I was Libya. I hated Libya. It was just nasty, and people were nasty.
Yes, sir.
And I didn't like. It's
Okay.
probably changed now.
Yes, sir.
But all the other countries, Denmark, Germany, France,
Yes, sir.
Norway, Italy,
Yes, sir.
and all these other places, it was always great.
Absolutely. Wonderful to hear.
But anywhere you go, you're going to find somebody that don't like you.
Yes, sir.
The presence is always there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So it's going to always be there.
Oh man! So as we shift back and forth between the international experience and domestically, we got to talk a little bit about health. You know, of course, because it's a healthcare show, right?
Right.
How did you maintain your fitness? You said you ran track. But that mental health and with uncertainty. Uncertainty of what you would come back home to, uncertainty to how family were doing here, and how did you keep yourself lifted?
But in mental health, I just told myself it was a job.
Yes, sir.
Now, when I was in Korea, I got hurt, and I was taken care of. The doctors, they took care of me, and I got hurt again in Vietnam.
Yes.
And in Vietnam, we had all the crew chiefs. When we have a plane go down, we try to go out and blow it up before the Viet Cong get the parts.
Yes, sir.
So a lot of times we would be out in the jungle, and we get lost trying to get back to the base. I was always stationed at one base called Thompson New.
Okay.
Because I was stationed in Florida, but we was go what they call TDY, temporary duty.
Okay.
Back and forth to Vietnam.
Yes, sir.
And that went on for 4 years.
Oh, man.
But a lot of times we were out, we had to eat food that was anything we could get.
Yes, sir.
And some of it wasn't healthy, some was.
Right.
But you had to eat it because you want to survive.
Yes, sir. Oh man.
And you always tell yourself, I'm going to get back okay. I will be all right when I get back. When I get back, they take care of me.
Yes, sir.
And I feel that if you didn't think that way, you're not going to make it.
No.
You had to have a lot of willpower.
Yes, sir.
Because I remember one time I had a tooth pull out in the jungle. I got a pair of pliers and pulled the tooth out. It had to come out.
Yes, sir.
With no Novocaine or nothing.
No, sir.
So you survive that. You take a piece of gauze out of your medical kit.
Yes, sir.
Put it on your tooth and keep on going.
Keep on going with the pain.
Right, with the pain be excruciating.
Yes, sir.
But if you stop too long, you might not make it back.
Yes, sir.
So you got to keep thinking positive. Always think positive.
Absolutely. Oh man, Chief Master Sergeant here. I'm here reading the tag 6 principles
Right.
of Tuskegee Airmen. Aim high. Believe in yourself. Use your brain. Never quit. Be ready to go, and expect to win.
Always expect to win.
Yes, sir.
This was the guys wanted something to govern them by.
Yes, sir.
And they would sit down and they came with these 6 principles.
Yes, sir.
And these 6 principles, really, every time they do something, they think about this.
Yes, sir.
In fact, we had one young lady here in Detroit here that was trained to be a pilot.
Yes, sir.
She was out in Vegas, and she met out there for a show. She met the young lady that, what's her name? The one who won all the gold medals in the Olympics.
Simone Biles?
Simone Biles.
Yes, sir.
And she had one of these medals with.
Yes, sir.
So she gave this to Simone Biles as a keepsake.
Yes, sir.
And said, if you go by these 6 principles, you're going to win the Olympics.
Have mercy. Yes, sir.
And a lot of times they have never forgotten that because when she came back, everybody knew she had told us this.
Yes,
She
sir.
was, as one on Memphis say, she went by the 6 principles that the Tuskegee Airmen used.
Amen. Yes, sir.
And that was a big push for, as the way I look at it, for this.
Yes, sir.
And and that goes for anybody. If you go by this,
Yes, sir.
you're going to make it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because you always aim high and on something, and I don't care if you fail the first time, you never quit.
Yes, sir.
Go back and try it again.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's the only way to do it.
Oh, yes, sir. Chief Master Sergeant, we're going to do a couple more questions, and then we'll go to a commercial, and then come back and talk a little bit more about present day and, reflecting on current events. But to keep it, historical, let's talk a little bit about your meeting, or the first time, or the one and only time that you met the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
That's when I was stationed at Biloxi.
Uh-huh.
And in 1955 I met him. Yeah, 1955.
Yes, sir.
Just before I went overseas. I had gone to Montgomery on the weekend.
Uh-huh.
And Saturday morning I decided to go to the barber shop
Uh-huh.
where I was at. And I didn't know anybody at the barber shop. I just knew down there.
Yes, sir.
And sitting there waiting in line, and in walks Dr. King.
Yes, sir.
And I had always looked at Dr. King as being 6'20",
Had to be.
about 300 pounds.
Yes,
so
sir.
like a Superman.
Absolutely. Yes,
And I
sir.
walked in, I gotta look, he's shorter than I am.
Yes, sir.
But he was great because we all offered him, since we're there, you go ahead of us.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, no, I'm gonna sit down and just take my turn.
Wow.
We sat down and we talked about different things, and I told him I was in the service and everything.
Yes, sir.
And that was one of the high points of my whole life,
Amen. Yes,
meeting
sir.
him.
Yes,
I only
sir.
got a chance to meet him that one time, that was it.
Oh, wow.
I
Yes,
never
sir.
got a chance to see him again.
Yes, sir.
But that was a thrill for me.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Indeed. And Chief Master Sergeant, this sitting here with you in your living room is a high point. It's a high point of my life, sir. Speaking of heroes, right? Our friend here. Let's talk a little bit about the late Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Jefferson, right? Author of Red Tail Captured, Red Tail Free, and had the opportunity to meet him. Another high point of my life, sir. And he signed my book. The book he gave to me, he signed it at the ripe age of 100. So let's talk about the Colonel and what he meant to you.
Okay,
Yes,
Jeff,
sir.
we call him Jeff.
Yes, sir.
Colonel, sometimes we call him Colonel, call him Jeff.
Yes, sir.
Jeff, to me, he was like God.
Mm.
I used to go to his house. We just sit down. We would talk. I go there. I said, Jeff, I just come out to see how you're doing.
Yeah.
I want to stay a few minutes. 4 or 5 hours later, I'm still there
Yes, sir.
talking to him. I learned a lot from Jeff. I learned a whole lot.
Yeah.
And Jeff was born and raised in Detroit,
Yes, sir.
and down by Michigan Avenue and Livernois area down there.
Yes.
I think it's 28th Street.
Yes, sir.
That he was born on. And Jeff,
Yes, sir.
he used to fly model airplanes out to Rouge Park
Uh-huh.
as a kid. So he loved flying anyway. He knew about flying.
Yes, sir.
And so when he decided to go he went to Clark College, and he decided he came back home to go into service, but he couldn't. He didn't weigh enough.
Okay. Didn't weigh enough.
Yeah, he had to weigh 115 pounds.
Yes, sir.
They sent Jeff back home to gain some weight.
Uh-oh. Get your weight up, huh?
Yeah. So in the meantime, he was waiting around. He had went to Howard, and when he got the call,
Uh-huh.
he left Howard in the middle of the semester and
Yes,
went
sir.
into the military.
Mm-hmm.
And he trained at Tuskegee,
Yes, sir.
and he was in the Jeff was in the 302nd, I think. And but he when he went to they went to Italy first, and they went from went to Africa first.
Yes, sir.
And then they went to Romatelli in Italy. That's where they 450 pilots
Yes, sir.
that went overseas stationed at. That's where they flew out of.
Yes, sir.
And Jeff had flew some missions.
Uh-huh.
And on this 18th and a half mission, he calls it.
18 and a half.
18 and a half. He was shot down.
Yes, sir.
He was doing what you call strafing at a low level. Strafing is coming in low.
Yes, sir.
And you shoot everything down there, the trains and things like that.
Yes, sir.
He, as he was going by, he was shot. The bullet came through the bottom of the aircraft, through his legs.
Wow.
And you said another inch, I'd have been talking real high, you know. You say, just missed me.
Yes, sir.
But the bullet that it was shot down with went through the top of the aircraft, and he was low there, and he couldn't get into power, so he could get back up and try to land or jump out of the parachute. But he finally learned he bucked the aircraft.
Yes, sir.
And he got the power back, and he climbed a little bit, which wasn't very high. And he tried to get out, and he couldn't get out. He said, I went to school 9 months to learn how to fly and everything. Nobody told me how to get out the damn aircraft.
Yes, sir.
It's just the way you put it.
Absolutely.
Because they didn't know how to get the canopy off. So when he bucked the aircraft, the canopy came out. And he jumped out. But he's only about maybe 300 or 400 feet above the trees.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And it wasn't really enough time before he hit the trees. But he hit the trees, and he fell through the trees, and he fell down to the ground. And as he was on the ground, this German soldier came up to him, and you know, he saluted him because he saw the bar on his collar. He saluted him, and he put him on arrest.
Wow. Yes, sir.
But while he spent 9 months
Yes, sir.
in the concentration camp, Starlight, one of those Starlights over there,
Yes, sir.
and he was relieved of what he was when Patton came through.
Yes, sir.
They all got out. But the main thing he told us that he went back to look at the place where the Jews was killed at.
Yes, sir.
And he said for a long time he hated the Germans. He said that was the worst sight he had ever seen in his life.
Yes, sir.
People was in this big thing, and they were on fire, and some wasn't even dead yet. And they was about thin as a dime, and he never forgot that.
Yes,
He was, when he first wrote it, he got a video of this too.
Yes, sir.
When the video came out, we went out in Birmingham, and they showed it out there, and he was talking about the Germans. He talked about the people, the Jewish people dying. Tears came to his eyes.
Yes, sir.
And he talked about that for a long time. Now Jeff was, he also started all the chapters around the country
Yes, sir.
in his basement
Mm-hmm.
in 1972.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
That's when he started all the chapters, and our chapter was the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Another place they say they were the first one, but we say we go with our chapter's first one.
Yes, sir.
And
Detroit.
things escalated around the country.
Yes, sir.
Now they got 58 chapters.
58 chapters. Tuskegee Airman.
And they got a couple in the Dominican Republic,
Mm-hmm.
and a couple places down there, because the guys from there was in the Tuskegee Airman.
Yes, sir.
Jeff was a school teacher at Patton School
Mm-hmm.
for over 30 years,
Yes, sir.
and when I was at UPS, a couple guys there brought up Jeff's name one time, They said he was my school teacher.
Hey,
He was my
hey.
science teacher.
Yes, sir. Oh, man. Yes, sir.
All around, you go to different places, and you meet different people that when you see a picture of Jeff, and they all know him.
Yes, sir.
He's my teacher.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Jeff, I remember at the NAACP dinner, that was back about 6-7 years ago. Hillary Clinton, she was a guest speaker that year.
Yes, sir.
And she came to give him his medal that he had waited 47 years before they finally gave it to him.
Absolutely.
47 years. That was ridiculous to me.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And he married his, the lady that used to fix his parachute.
Uh-huh.
Used to pack his parachute.
Yes, sir.
I understand he married her.
Mm-hmm.
And I never really inquired. I understand he had kids, but his kids died before, a long time before he did. I never tried to bring that up.
Yes, sir.
But that's, to me, that's a soap subject. So I
Absolutely.
keep away from it. But Jeff was, he was our leader.
Amen. Yes, sir.
He was
Absolutely.
really our leader.
Mm-hmm.
And he was anytime somebody wanted him to come, he was always there.
He was there.
And when he turned 100,
Mm-hmm.
his birthday lasted a whole week. A whole week. Every day they had something.
Yes, sir.
And at that time we had the drive-by birthday thing,
Uh-huh.
and over 283 cars went through.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Overly well deserved.
Oh,
Overly.
yes, it's deserved.
Yes, sir. And we had the opportunity to meet him later in his life. Of course, he has his barber Ed. So I guess a shout out to Shears in the Park. You know, Oak Park. Some great barbers over there. You know, Reggie, Skills, Dre. But he used to, come in and would sign books and tell stories and hold conversation. And forever grateful.
Oh yeah, Jeff. He was the guy that you could talk to. He would talk to you anything. He didn't mind telling you about the Tuskegee Airmen.
Yeah.
And he knew everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And he whatever he got a lot of awards which he deserved.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I remember one thing Jeff would tell you in the book.
Uh-huh.
And in the video he's got, when he came home, spent 9 months in a concentration camp, been shot down in the airplane, and he gets back home, and he comes down the gangplank, and as he said, down at the end of the gangplank, there's a sergeant standing down there and say, "Whites this way, niggas this way." He said, "I'm back home." That's just how he returned it. And it made it, he said he felt bad about it, but he soon just brushed it off and kept on going.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Relying on the principles of airmen.
And that, to me, that was a shame. The guys, everybody, they should have rewarded everybody that came that fought in World War II.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Especially somebody that was in a position of him
Yes.
and got hurt and stuff like that. They're a credit to their country.
Yes.
They're a credit to their race and everything.
Yes, sir.
And people got to learn to understand that. These guys, they'll never come back. We'll never have this again.
That's right.
That's just a one time in history that you came up with the Tuskegee Airmen.
Chief Master Sergeant, we're going to go to a commercial. We're going to come back, though. We're going to talk more about Eleanor Roosevelt. We're going to talk about the role of women in the Tuskegee Airmen group. And then we'll fast forward and talk about, current day. And even dig into some of your personal life to an extent there about coming home and what it was like raising your family. All right, we'll be right back. We are beating the pandemic here in Metro Detroit. But to no surprise, there's another cold, bitter winter season ahead of us. Thus, allow American Advantage Home Care to come into your home to provide safe, high-quality, skilled nursing and physical therapy services. Choose a home health care team that never, ever drops the ball. Welcome back to Season 3, Episode 3 of the Home Health Care Today show. It's Black History Month, and for those of you just joining us, we are having an incomparable opportunity to sit in the home of a living legend. Yes, we are sitting here with Chief Master Sergeant William Bill Welborne, and having some great dialogue about, of course, the history of the Tuskegee Airmen, which he was one of. But we're going to shift a little bit and now talk about women, the role of women at that time in the, Air Force, some of the major contributions. And prior to our commercial, we left off talking about Eleanor Roosevelt and how she was such a pivotal figure in supporting black servicemen and women. So we'll pick up there, Chief.
Okay. Eleanor Roosevelt, well, at first, they said the blacks couldn't fly. They couldn't, they were illiterate.
Yes, sir.
They were, and they couldn't handle sophisticated aircraft.
Yes, sir.
So Miss Roosevelt went down to Tuskegee to find out for herself.
Yes, sir.
So she was interested in the Tuskegee Airmen.
Mm-hmm.
So she went down there and she flew with Chief Anderson. He was the guy that taught the airmen how to fly.
Yes, sir.
And she about a 45-minute flight, and they came back. After they came back, well, before they took off, the Civil Service, they wouldn't have it. They said, no, you don't fly with no black man. That's one of the things they said.
Yes, sir.
Black man can't be trusted. You're not gonna fly.
Mm.
So she said, I'm gonna fly anyway. So she went for about a 45-minute flight, came back and landed, and she said, you guys just as good or better than a lot of the white pilots.
Hey, yes, sir.
And she went back and told her husband about this.
Mm-hmm.
And she also started a fund to raise money to help the Tuskegee Airmen get things that they needed, personal things.
Yes, sir.
And she supported Tuskegee Airmen 150%.
Yes, sir. Awesome.
And a lot of people believe if she hadn't done this, he might not have made it.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
She did this on her own thing. She kept on her husband by the time and time again.
Mm-hmm. stayed in President Roosevelt's ear, right?
Right.
Yes, sir. Oh man, Chief Master Sergeant, talk to us a little bit about other women. Women in the Air Force at the time, and many women are the unsung heroes
right.
of Tuskegee.
Okay. The first woman is Betsy Coleman.
Yes, sir.
Betsy Coleman was a flyer. She learned how to fly back in the early 1910, 12, 13, 20, 30, around there.
Yes, sir.
She was self-taught, and Betsy was a stunt pilot.
Yes, sir.
But she couldn't get a lot of things done here in the States. So she had to work her way to France, where she would be free to fly.
Yes, sir.
She died at an early age, but she did a lot. She was entertainment. She was a good-looking woman, first place.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. I mean, she was a beautiful woman. Mm-hmm. And she was a heck of a flyer. Mm-hmm. And when she came back to the States, she flew a lot of shows around. And then the last show she was 33 when she flew her last show.
Yes, sir.
She was in the aircraft, and they were doing what you call a barrel roll. That's where the plane rolls around 4 times. Yes, sir. And when the plane turned upside down, mm-hmm. she fell out. It's been said that somebody cut her seat belts. Mm. And a lot of other things that happened. And myself, I believe somebody killed her.
Yes,
because she was better than anybody else.
Yes,
all the white women that flew, and she was the only one that had an international pilot's license.
Yes,
the
sir.
only pilot. Mm-hmm. A lot of the whites didn't have that.
Yes, sir.
So She was the first.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a few years ago, I met Brenda Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
Brenda Robinson was one of the first. There was two of them in the same class. Because I only met Brenda.
Yes, sir.
She was the first black female fighter pilot for the Navy.
Yes, sir.
And Brenda's still living today. She's retired.
Mm-hmm.
She works for some airline now. And she was always told, "You're a black woman, you're not going to make it."
Mm-hmm.
And the two women there, they pursued this. They said, we're gonna get through this.
Yes, sir.
And they made it through. And they were the first in the Navy.
Absolutely.
Stephanie Johnson, who's the captain out the Delta, she comes down with us and talks to the kids all the time about being a female pilot.
Yes, sir. Tremendous honor.
And it's just great. It makes me feel good to have them to come down and do this. I
Yes.
feel real good.
Absolutely.
And
Yes,
you got
sir.
a lot of other women that in the Black Pilots Association
Mm-hmm.
that's flying.
Yes, sir.
The military, you got the Air Force, you got Navy,
Mm-hmm.
you got the Coast Guard, you got helicopter pilots right here stationed out at the end of Mount Elliott
Yes, sir.
here
On
in
the east
Detroit.
side. Yes, sir.
And you got all kind of pilots. You got a lot of them out to selfies.
Yes, sir.
And the women, I look at women. I used to work for a woman at one time, and it didn't bother me. I just did my job.
Yes, sir.
I always told I was the best at it.
Yes, sir.
And I thought that way. I was the best in the Air Force. You couldn't tell me anything different.
Absolutely. Yes,
And,
sir.
But you got women all over,
Yes, sir.
and we should honor that.
Yes, we should.
As women.
Every day.
A couple other things about the Tuskegee Airmen. Colonel Harry, well, he was Lieutenant Harry Stewart.
Yes, sir.
And Harry Stewart lives here in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
He's still living now.
Yes, sir.
Harry was he's one of the main Tuskegee Airmen. He was one of the first Top Gun
Yes, sir.
that they won back in 1949 out in Vegas.
Yes, sir.
The Air Force Base out in Vegas. But these guys beat everybody from start to finish. I mean, they beat them bad.
Beat 'em bad. Yes, sir.
But they never gave them credit for it.
Mhm.
They didn't want the world to know that these black men
Yes, sir.
had beat all the white pilots.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
So they never really got the credit. And when it come time for them to take the trophy disappeared.
Mm. Yes.
50 years it disappeared.
Yes, sir.
They finally found it at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in the basement
Mm.
in one of the buildings with a burlap bag over the top of it. So it took 50 years to get it back. We got it back now.
Yes, sir.
But that just shows you how afraid.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand why that the white man is of the black man.
Yes, sir.
In 1925, they put out a proclamation about the black man. The black man is dumb. He's stupid. He's a coward. He's this. He's that. He can't handle sophisticated equipment,
Yes, sir.
which backfired on them because they became the best in the Air Force, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Those were lies. Those were lies, Chief.
Yeah, they became the best, and nobody could beat them.
No, sir. No, sir.
And there's other things. A lot of people don't know there was a Tuskegee Airman, Walter Payton Manning.
Mm-hmm.
He was lynched in Germany. He had got shot down, and they put him in jail. People came and got him out of jail and hung him.
Mm.
Now, Colonel Stewart was part of that. Colonel Stewart was his wingman.
Yes, sir.
And so after he got shot down, Colonel Stewart, he was by himself. He had to get back to the base. On his way back, he shot down 3 German planes. He's the only guy, his first time out, that shot down 3 aircraft.
Yes, sir.
He was in 19, Oh, I think it's 1919, 1919, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
The leader of Austria called Colonel Stewart and wanted him to come back over there and celebrate his new burial. They
Yes,
took
sir.
him out of the old grave and they made a monument, which is still there
Yes, sir.
on the German-Austria border.
Yes, sir.
They had him come back over there for that. There was a big article in the Detroit News about that.
Wow. Yes, sir.
About 3 pages on that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There's another time. Let's see, what else did Colonel Stewart do? He did so
Amazing
much.
feats. Amazing.
Yeah, he did so much. It's just different.
Yes, sir.
But like I say, he's still living.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
He's still in good shape.
Yes, sir. Chief, what do you think about a lot of the current firsts and the successes of blacks as we think about Black History Month? Heads of Fortune 100 and Fortune 500 corporations now, leads in military, higher education, healthcare, in just about every field in industry, we've been able to greatly overcome. What did the election of Barack Obama, what did that mean to you? How did you feel? And did you ever think that could happen in your lifetime?
No, I never. When that happened, I just couldn't believe it. When he said he was going to run for president,
Yes, sir.
and he was fairly new.
Yes, sir.
He's a young guy and black,
Yes, sir.
but he was well versed
Absolutely.
and everything. But I don't know if they tried to change his mind,
Mm-hmm.
but to me that was the greatest thing in history
Yes, sir.
at the time.
Mm-hmm.
As I was telling you about Sergeant Jarvis, Preston Jarvis,
Yes, sir.
which was 106 years old, and he said he was amazed
Mm-hmm.
that something happened in his lifetime before he passed away,
Yes, sir.
because he had been around for a lot of years,
Mm-hmm.
and he thought it was the greatest thing in the world.
Absolutely.
And I went to the inauguration.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I was down there in D.C.
Uh-huh.
and it was cold that day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And it was so packed. I mean, it was so many people down there.
Yeah.
I remember from was it 17th Street to the next street.
Yes, sir.
It took us an hour to go a block.
And yes, sir.
That's how many people it was.
Mm-hmm.
You just couldn't squeeze through.
Yes, sir.
And when we finally got through, we was up in John Conyers' office
Yes, sir.
and watching the inauguration. And Obama, he was a heck of a speaker to me. I really, anytime he speaks, I stop and listen.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
It's kind of like King. When King spoke, you stop and listen.
Yes, sir.
And Obama was the same way.
Mm-hmm.
That was, and because of that, I think we got more senators, more black senators,
Yes, sir.
Congress and things like that.
Surgeon General.
And Surgeon General, we got Secretary of Defense is an ex-military man.
Yes, sir.
You got, it's got everything now.
Yes, sir.
And I like that.
Amen. Yes,
It's
sir.
about time, because we can do the job just as good as anybody else can.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And it doesn't mean just because you're black, you can't do the job. Yes, you can.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can, Chief.
They got the education. They got guys that been around for years, and they know what's going on.
That's right, Chief Master Sergeant. I believe, I live by the notion that we have to oftentimes, trump bigotry with brilliance. Yes, sir. And we gotta trump prejudice with performance, right?
Mhm.
And trump humiliation with honor, and try to live by that, try to encourage other young people, to live by that mantra, and then realize that today's struggles and challenges pale in comparison to times of old. What would you say the drivers? Some of the main drivers in us embracing a reality today that still has challenges, right? Still has a lot of challenges. But what do you believe was most pivotal in the advancement or for the advancement of blacks and people of color?
Uh, I don't know. It was, I think Dr. King was.
Mm-hmm.
He was instrumental in getting people to understand that I can do better.
Yes, sir.
You started getting in politics. You started getting more and more blacks in there.
Yes, sir.
In the military,
Mm-hmm.
you had. Even though I don't really care for the guy too much,
Mm-hmm.
the guy was what was he, Secretary of HUD?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Doctor Ben
Yeah.
Carson, right?
Yeah, he's from Detroit too.
Yes, sir. He is. Yes,
And
sir.
he was noted for separating these twins.
Yes, sir.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, guys like that to step up. The guy that was at was it the hospital?
Mm-hmm.
The hospital that he was a regular guy, but he helped this doctor rise to fame.
Yes, Mm-hmm.
Most
Yeah.
Def played the part of him.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, I can't think of it right now.
Yes, sir.
But in his picture, it's on the wall with all the rest of the doctors down there.
Uh-huh.
And he never had a degree,
Yes,
but
sir.
he knew medicine back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And you get people like that,
Yes, sir.
but still you don't want to give them credit for anything.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to give Obama credit for a lot of things.
Yes, sir.
Coleman Young, they gave him a hard time.
Yes, sir.
Mecca Evans,
Yes, sir.
and Stokes and all those guys.
Yes, sir. We were in the city of Detroit was in a surplus at the end of Mary Coleman Young.
Right, uh-huh.
Right. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Then they came along, but you always find some the guys that's gonna mess up. Myself, Kwame, I didn't really get along with him too well.
Yes,
I met him a couple of times,
Mm-hmm.
and we every time when I was the president of my association, I had him as a speaker,
Yes, sir.
and him and I, well, we had a couple of arguments about it.
Yes, sir.
But Kwame could have been great.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
But these guys they want to get something for nothing, and you don't get anything for nothing. Kwame could have been, maybe could have been ran for president. I don't know.
Yes, sir.
Again, he could have been took Kanye's place.
Yes, sir.
Anything he had been governor.
Yes,
You know,
sir.
it's when you get into politics, you just can't be greedy. Don't be greedy.
Right.
You know, work hard at what you do. Do the right thing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And that's the only thing. Once you do the right thing, and people don't agree with you, well, so be it.
Yes, sir.
But there's a lot of people even around the Detroit area.
Yes, sir.
Cause I was surprised when they named Gilchrist as the lieutenant governor.
Yes, sir.
Cause he lives right over here in Palmer Woods over here.
Absolutely. Yes,
And
sir.
I work as part of the police community relations on the 12th precinct.
Yes, sir.
And he used to come to meeting all the time.
Absolutely. He's always a listening ear and
Mhm.
supportive, you know. Yes, he is. So
And I got to know him real good.
yes, sir.
And there's a lot of good guys around. But I didn't care for Craig too much.
Yes,
But
sir.
as a chief, but I think White is doing a heck of a job. But one thing I give Chief Craig, when the people down on, when the guy got killed
Mm-hmm.
down on Puritan
Mm-hmm.
and San Juan down there,
Yes, sir.
he put the people got all riled up.
Right.
He put out this video where they show what happened.
There it is. Transparency.
And the guy, he just wanted to die.
Yes, sir.
Because anytime you got 20 or 30 police around, you pull a gun out,
It's gonna
well,
be a
you know,
problem.
it
Yes,
don't
sir.
make sense.
No, sir. No, sir.
You want to die. And a lot of black people got a chip on the shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
We got to get that chip off our shoulder
Yes, sir.
if you want to get nowhere. They think everything is supposed to be given to them. Well, you know, they don't give you nothing. You got to work for
Yeah,
it.
work real hard.
We all work for it.
Night and day.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we all work hard. And
Yes, sir.
My mom's always taught us,
Yes, sir.
if you want anything, you get a job and buy it yourself.
Amen. Yes, sir.
And that's what a lot of people don't want to do. People don't want to work. They want to fall back on welfare.
Yes, sir.
Want somebody to give them something. But most people are going to give you something. So
Nothing but a hard time.
that's right. And you got to earn what you get.
Yes, sir. Yes, you do.
A lot of people go in the military, and I understand the military because, well, they'll make you grow up. If you don't act right, they're going to put you in jail or put you out.
Right.
And so you got to, you just got to keep at it. Keep going to school.
Absolutely.
If these kids quit school, that's the worst thing you can do.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Go to school. When you get out of school, if you can't go to college, go to a trade school.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They got all these schools around it, and now they give you money to go to school. When I was a kid, you had to hump through the snow. You didn't have snow days.
No, sir. No, sir.
Yeah.
And Chief, it's gotten so difficult now that some of the kids go online,
Right.
To the internet or computer, and they have virtual snow days.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And I don't think that's right. I think if I was a teacher, I'd like Colonel Jefferson. He no phones in his class.
No phone. That's right.
You leave that phone someplace else. So you better not pull out the phone.
Absolutely.
Because to me, that's a form of cheating.
Yes, it is.
If you read something, I want to say one thing.
Okay.
When I was in Europe, in England, I had a chance to go to Oxford for a year. Well, I only went one term. But I was in a class with Bill Bradley. I don't know if you know, Bill Bradley played for the New York Knicks.
The Knicks, sure did.
And he was a U.S. Senator.
Yes, sir.
Well, I had a chance to meet him. Bill Bradley was the kind of guy, he could take this book and run his hand down there on each page, and he knew everything on that page.
Brilliant. Yes, sir.
But me, I had to get down there and get down to the nitty gritty.
Line by line.
Read it 3 or 4 times.
Yes, sir. Oh,
but
yes.
And if you fail, don't try it again.
Get back up. Get back up. Yes, sir.
It's no harm to fail.
No, sir.
Everybody fails at something sometime.
Yes, sir. Never quit.
Yeah, that's right. Never quit.
Yes, sir. It all goes back to these 6 principles.
That's right. Never quit. You're right. And that's right. You never quit. You keep going, and that's what the airmen did.
That's it.
You got a lot of other guys. You got the Monfort Marines. They were treated bad. They were trained Camp Lejeune, Camp Pendleton. They've had to do that training out in the swamp where the white guys trained over in the regular land. I mean, they had snakes and mosquitoes, everything else out in the swamp.
Yes, sir.
But yet they made it through.
They made it through. Persevere.
And
Yes,
there's someone
sir.
still living. There's a group called the Triple Nickel. It was parachuters. They could jump anywhere nobody else could jump.
Yes, sir.
The whites and everybody else, they could not. They didn't jump. These guys go out here and do it.
Yes, sir.
And there's a lot of groups that was mistreated.
Yes, sir.
And when somebody stand up for their rights, as long as you do it in a good way.
Yes, sir.
Don't get that's why they use a lot of profanity, because you're not getting the point across.
You're not. No, it ruins it.
Yeah, you got to go out there, and you got to speak nice. People tell me, you speak like you're white. Well, they run the world. There's no getting around it.
Yes, sir.
They run everything.
Yes, sir.
They got all the money, and we don't have it yet.
Absolutely.
We're working our way up,
Yes, sir.
but we don't have that yet, and we just got to learn how to do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
And I tell you, when I go to schools, and the last thing I always tell the kids, I say, you got to stay in school.
Yes, sir.
Don't take the easy subject, take the hard subject.
Right.
I said, if you want to become a pilot, you got to take the hard subject. I said, a pilot works 4 days a week, makes $200,000 a year.
Yes, sir.
You can't find anywhere in the world you're going to make that kind of money.
Working 4 days a week. No,
4
sir.
days a week.
No,
I
sir.
say, but being a pilot, it's tough. You got to work at it.
Yes, sir.
You got to have physics. You got to have chemistry,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to have dedication.
Yes, you do.
You
Yes,
got
sir.
to have a lot of dedication because if you're there by yourself, if anything goes wrong, you got to figure it out.
You got to figure it out. Yes, sir.
If you can't figure it out, then you're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I
Oh,
always,
yes.
I always tell them that, stay in school, and I always tell them that without the Tuskegee Airmen,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion,
Yes, sir.
I don't think we would have won the war
No, sir.
in Germany.
Absolutely.
In
Absolutely.
Europe, period.
Yes, sir.
And I always thought that, and I still believe that. And Colonel Jefferson thought the same thing too.
Amen. Yes, sir. Wow, Chief Master Sergeant, this has been a indelible and incredible, experience sitting here in your living room, and as we wrap up, this Black History Month episode, American Advantage Home Care is the host and sponsor of, the Home Health Care Today show. And, I will go as far as to say that America's advantage is greatly tied to Black history. Black history is America's history.
Well, we built the country. That's what I look at.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
On the backs of our ancestors,
Yes,
they did all the work to build everything.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Yes, indeed. And your strength and your energy, your commitment and dedication, as you approach the age of 90, in all transparency, the chief is not a client or patient of American Advantage. He is not homebound. He gets out every day. He gets out every day and serves, and we're inspired by his commitment, his legacy, his longevity. And this gift. So, Chief, I'm going to have you sign the paper before I leave here. But
Okay.
there were 10,000, right?
10,000 made.
10,000 quarters minted, right? In honor of Tuskegee Airmen, and I have one. I have one of these quarters. Thanks to Chief here. Chief, thank you, sir, so much for all that you've
Thank
done,
you.
all that you do.